So what should the opener be?
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Kaya with Alex. Alex, introduce yourself.
What's up, guys? Alex here, licensed CPA and Realtor, and you are talking to the Collegiate agent,
Woo!
Kaya. Yep. So, I mean, you're going to hear a lot of things where people kind of talk about, oh, but like, I'm in college, I'll worry about making money and all that later. And you decided to jump in and become an agent. How did that work?
How did that work or how did that start?
Well, that's what I meant. So, in other words, what got you to jump into this real estate arena?
So, what got me into it at first was what can I do that would make money that I could start at home living with my parents, that I wouldn't have to dress up and go to every day, and that, matched my personality. So I was like, I watched Million Dollar Listing like every day. I was like, this looks nice. So at that point, it was just like a little seed in my head. So I researched it and it said you needed to be 18. I was like 16. So I was like, okay,
Wait.
that's it. What happened after? My parents bought their first house to flip
Mhm.
upstate New York, and Hudson Valley, and we renovated it. And I was there for it was COVID-19, so I was home all day in that home, doing everything, learning everything. I didn't want to be there at first. At first, I was like, I hate Home Depot. Lowe's is even worse. I don't want to be a part of this. I couldn't do anything else because there was no floor. So you can imagine. That one actually had walls. The one we have now didn't have walls, it was just framing, but this one had walls. But there was no electricity or anything like that, so we really had to, all chip in. So I helped them renovate it. I did the least, but I still did my part. And then when it was time to sell, they just went with like a local broker. It was like this old lady. She had her own brokerage that her mom bought, and she was just after that we found out that she didn't even want to do it anymore. She was just handling the family business. So they hired her. It was like a 6% commission or something. My parents were already pissed about it because they never worked with a realtor before. They were like 6% for what? Um, they came, took the photos, put it online, and then there was nothing. A month passed, nothing. 2 months passed, nothing. We listed it in like November, and it was just nothing, nothing, nothing. Then, when it got a little warmer in March, we saw like people stopping by, and I was always doing like random stuff, like trying to ride the motorcycle or spray painting the garage, something like that. So people would see me and they would be like, who are you? And I was like, hey, I just like live here. I didn't know whether I should say like I live here, I work here. I don't know. It was like strangers just like stopping in front of the house, seeing the little sign. It wasn't even like a professional sign with like pictures that you see all over Queens. It was just like one of those metal
Oh, the
little
generic ones from Home Depot.
yeah, like happy holidays type thing that you get at Dollar Tree. No, it wasn't that bad, but she was just horrible, this broker. And they would say to me, like, hey, I've been calling and nobody's been picking up. Like, is this still for sale? And I was like, really? So I'd be like, yes, I'm so sorry. Like, I'll call her, I'll find out what's wrong. And then after a while, it just like got a little annoying. So I started doing the showings. I was just like, come on in. They left, and yeah, she was just like the worst broker ever. And in the end, she still got paid. And I personally, I was so mad at that. I was like, she did not, well, her assistant probably did the paperwork afterwards, but there was no point. I was like, I could do this.
Hmm.
So then I was getting closer to that 18 mark, and I even filmed the virtual tour during COVID. I made up stuff because I didn't know what I was talking about. So there were like a pair of doors. I was like, look at these French doors. I sent it to the broker. She posted it anyway. So I was very hands on. Then we're always back and forth between the city and upstate. So we were in the city, and I was 17 and something, and I started researching again, and it turned out that you could take your licensing course and that test before you turned 18. You just had to officially, through New York State, take their test when you were 18. So I started that. I love discounts. I love everything like that. So I found the absolute cheapest course on like Groupon with like a 2 day discount on like this day plus an extra 25% because I was like their member. So that was like nothing. I would be like brushing my teeth and like clicking through the course. Like, yes, next level, next level, next level. I took a break. My parents bought their second house. That was a big deal, so I put that on hold. We went to it, they looked over it, they negotiated, they got it. We started working on that, which is actually like horrible. But I was like, wait, it's another house? And I know it's gonna happen at the end. So I was like, I need to step on it. So I did that. I didn't study at all for the test. I've never studied for a test truly in my life. I just got it like that. So I went and failed. I went and failed, and it was annoying because it was COVID. So it was like you had to sign up a month in advance. You go there, then you wait for another month because the results come from Albany and they're lazy. And then it was a fail. And then I was like, okay. It said if you fail the second time, you have to pay for everything again, take the course over again, and do it again. So I was like, no. So I stood up for like 3 nights before and quizzed myself on YouTube. It would just be like me sitting in front of the TV screaming A, B, C on these random videos. I went like that day, took it again, waited another month, passed. I was like, this is great. Then I don't know why I picked our office. Just kind of I was like, Bayside, that sounds nice. So I went on like the Indeed, I tapped it, and then I got an email from a lady named Gloria. I was like, who's this? And then she was like, can we set up like a Zoom interview? I was like, yes. So I'm in the car and I press the Zoom interview. Like the sweetest lady picks up and she's like laughing, she's like talking. I was like, this is nice. And then at the end, I remember she goes, you have any other questions? And I go, yeah. When can I start? So then it was just like a e-document kind of thing. Filled it out. I read the whole contract twice. I was like, coaching fee, commission split, a cap, another cap, and I was just like, oh god. So that was the thing that I didn't expect the most, was there to be so many fees for absolutely no reason. Oh yeah, and then this fee, and then you can just stay and then make some money on top of that if you feel like it. So I was like, okay, I can do that. So at that point, I'm doing college early. So I was supposed to be in high school, but I was already doing college. And I was like, it's online anyway. I can do this. So I came into the office. I saw what it was like. I liked it. And then I've been there ever since.
So, despite all the fees and all that jazz, would it be safe to assume that it's worth it?
I I think so, but I think if you like a lot of people have in their mind, even surprisingly, this is a little off topic, but when I got into this and I made like a realtor Instagram and everything, I thought everybody was gonna be like Kaya, like another one of your like crazy ideas, like crazy side hustles, what? But it was the opposite. Everybody was like, "Oh my god, like are you serious? Like this." And they're like, "Oh, like that's an amazing side hustle. Like you could just have a license." So I think if you're like thinking about doing this just as that, just to have like I don't know, realtor in your bio or resume, I think it doesn't make sense just to be paying fees
Hmm.
and doing nothing with like no real interest just because you think like oh real estate, oh money.
I think that gets people in a lot of trouble, but I think that's part of the reason why the burnout rate for realtors are super high, right?
Like
I
you
mean,
walk in, you're like, what? Nobody gives me leads? What? I have to go and get business by myself? And I
yep,
have to pay?
yep. And then people just get kind of honestly, I feel like where a lot of people get stuck, right? And so
Yeah.
you unfortunately a lot of people also go the other route and say, hey, look, then I'll go to a discount broker, right? They
Hmm.
won't charge me anything. Like I whatever the number is, right? It's like nominal, right? So, and they're like, yeah, just we bring a deal. They charge us X amount, and then
Right.
it is what it is. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, I guess that's cool. But then I start like if you start digging through the numbers, I'm like, okay, that's probably why, right? Like when I first had a conversation, I will admit I'm like at first because I don't know the industry, right? So I'm like, y'all are charging me this much. I'm like, what the heck, right? So I'm getting taxed. But I mean, for me, it's like, look, if you're gonna take my money, then I might as well see what I'm paying for. And thankfully, like when I went to the court, like the training courses, there's at least one every day, right? And when I sat through them, I'm like, okay, that's surprising. These aren't nonsense, right? And so as I go through, I'm like, okay, like now I get it. Now I get it, right? And then as I see more people go in, and like a lot of new agents, like for me, when I first started, the people that came in were like all new folks, right? Because they saw this crazy real estate run, and everyone wants to be an agent, right? Because they think they're gonna make crazy money, and then reality kicks in, right? And then they
And you
realize,
don't.
oh, right,
Period.
right. And it usually circles back to, wait, I thought people were gonna give me leads. I thought
Hmm.
like they were just gonna fly at me. No, no, right? And so like the few that did take like the opportunity to sit through coaching, whether it be like our in-house coach or things through like Bold and things of that nature, and then you see like, oh wait, like suddenly they got listings popping up, they got like souls popping up. I'm like, okay, I get it. Okay, now I get it. Like now it makes sense, right? Um, but I will say it's not for everyone. It's definitely not for everyone because some people costs aren't justified, right? But like, what's your personality? For me, like I also understand why some of the monsters are like in our office, right? Despite the fee, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dep- you just it's a matter of
No, I'm not saying the fee. Like, even for you, I
Mhm,
wouldn't, if I were you, I wouldn't, it's another bill for you, another car bill, another
mhm.
this. I'm just saying at my age,
No, of
when you
course.
have to pay for yourself and you have to pay your rent and you have to pay your tuition, and then you look at that and you're like, hmm.
No, no, absolutely no, dude. Even on my end, I'm like, I mean, I got it's wait, you're telling me that like you're gonna run that juice every time I make money? Like that's huh? Right?
Yeah.
But you know, it's what you don't know, right? Like for me going into it, I'm like, for me, I went off the recommendation of my family, right? So they're like, this office is where you want to be. So I'm like, okay, fine, I guess, like, but then he looked at the contract again. I'm like, me too. I was like, wait, hold up, you guys are charging how much, right? But like now, like as I went through it, I'm like, wait, let me just like as I already made the jump, and I was like, look, let me just make sure I vet this, right? And I went through the thing. I'm like, oh, like you're paying for training. Like if you and look, if you don't take advantage of it, that's on you. But like that's like you're paying for like support and training. I'm like, okay, you know what? Fine, 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 right? Because at the end of the day, if you don't make money, they don't get money either, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm okay with this. You know what? Let's rock. Um, so even before you hit legal age, you kind of got it in your head of no, this is what I'm doing. I'm in, right?
Yeah. And it wasn't even like, I, it was just in my head. I was like, I'm gonna do this. I was like, it doesn't matter where I am. I'm like, I can do this. And I didn't even think of it as like a job. I just thought of it as like a little personality trait. I was like, this is doable. But I get a lot, which is crazy. I don't know why people think this, but number one, people don't know where I am because I'm always upstate and then I'm back in the city like every other week. So I'm here and here. Everybody thought or still thinks that I dropped out of school because I have a real estate account. It's like, you're a realtor. And then I have friends that I've known forever. And then I posted like a picture of an assignment once. And they were like, what? They were like, I thought you dropped out. I thought you were a realtor. I was like, no, I am. And then there's the people that think that I go to college for real estate, which I have no words for. So,
My parents were like, dude, I thought you tried. I'm like, nah, fool. I'm just hustling. I'm busy
mhm.
making money. Like when you first popped up in the office, I actually kind of I'm like, oh, she looks young. I mean, okay, like, but when you're like, wait, I'm in college. I'm like, wait, hold the phone. What?
I know, and I never say my age until like the very end. So
But
I try to like embody like 25. That's like my goal.
I'm not trying to take a shot at your quote unquote generation because I guess I'm at
Yeah.
that age now. But you don't expect that level of hustle and grind, right? Usually
Yeah.
it's like, all right, bro, like hit me up when you're ready. I'm like, excuse me, like, did you really want to make money, or are you just trying to like putz around, right? But you're like, no, I'm in. Let me know what time. Like, let me know what I need to prepare and whatever. I'm like, okay, like, okay, okay, right. So
Because you gotta just keep going, and it's
right.
like people are shocked. I don't know, like I don't know why people have this mindset where it's like you have to do one thing, like you have to go to school and then you have to get a job, and then you have to have a job. Like no, school is just the okay full time, but how long does it actually take you? A few hours. Like you have time to go to the gym, you have time to do real estate. Honestly,
I attribute that to it's called ambition, and you have it,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, and it's not even like I feel like even now you're like, oh, you're doing real estate in school. I'm doing real estate school and I have a job too.
Right.
So
So be hustling, right? And
yeah, you got to keep going.
I feel like at your age, that's gonna, well, especially at your age, it tends to make people lonely. It's hard to find a tribe at that age, right?
Hmm.
But like the folks that I've seen that like hustled like you do, right? Like when they get to my age, I look at them, I'm like, so you got any advice for me? Because you kind of got a lot going on, and it looks like you're kind of living that life that I would like, you know. Um, so I
And they're
mean,
like, hold up, I'll talk to you later. Hold up.
yeah, like so. We took a quick break because my baby was screaming, and I forgot where I left off. But you know, at the end of the day, like I think it's gonna be really good that you essentially took your time at your age to try things, right? Um, and for me, one of like I had this like early mentor type person, and he was like, "Look, the beauty of messing up when you're young is that the costs are like infinitesimal, right? Like if you lost $1 million at like early 20s, it's nowhere near as like painful in the long run as you losing say 30 grand in your 30s or
With a
40s.
wife, kids,
Right,
responsibilities.
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you went full steam ahead, and the other side of it, right? Like it's at this point you've been at it for months, right? And where most people would have been like, oh, like so I actually have to work, like really work. I think I'm done, right? I would, but then no, sure enough, like another week rolls around. Oh, Kaya's still at it. I'm like, okay, like I feel like I say this with a lot of the agents that I talk to, like, oh, you're for real. Makes me happy, right? Because again, we see I'm an agent, I'm an agent, I'm an agent, I'm an agent, and then like a month or two passes by, and I'm like,
They're
that real,
gone.
yeah, I'm like that realtor thing is gone, and like, well, wait, their account is done. I'm like, what? You know, I wish I were in your shoes. Go through this whole phase, right? Went through the whole process. Looks like you got an early taste of reality, right? When trying the first iteration of
Mental
it.
breakdowns,
Yeah. But
dealing with people. Yes.
but thankfully you had the wherewithal to just ask questions, right? And like you're like instead of just saying, oh, like this sucks, you ask questions, you start asking people, and for a lot of folks that takes balls, right? Like instead of like
I have never gotten that because I have been asking questions ever since I stepped into that office. There would be like a top agent. I didn't know who anyone was, so I didn't know whether they were new, top, old, young. So I was just asking everybody everything, like random stuff. Like I remember I asked like a top agent how to do like how to run comps, and he sat down with me for like an hour, and then he left. And the guy that was training me, he's like, "You know, like who that is?" I was like, "Nope," but he was okay. He was pretty helpful.
I guess
Yeah,
he's like he was like top 2 or 3 agents in the office, right? And like what? Yeah, he cleared like stupid amounts of
yeah. And it's like, why would you Google something? Why would you keep it in your head if you could just bust it out 1, 2, 3, get an answer done? Okay, thank you, thank you.
that's the other added like benefit, right? Like I'm used to a lot of places where you get like 1 or 2 questions, and after that it's like, dude, you need to go piss off because now you're taking up my time, right? Like
Yeah,
I haven't like here I haven't had that feel yet. Like anytime I have a question, they're like, I mean, if they're busy doing something, like, hey, look, just give me like an hour, right? Let me just get this off my desk, and but thankfully a lot of people have been gracious and will walk you through things, right? As long as you're not a jerk, right? Um, so you went through the exam, got all that, you sit in the office, you start getting a feel for people, and you start, cracking, right, as an agent. Um, so from the moment you were like, I'm gonna become a real estate agent, to now? Like, how has your opinion changed, like in your views of being an agent?
I would say the most ironic thing was that when I got into it, all I heard all around me was like the Tom Ferry, the motivational sphere of influence, that it like stuck to everybody. Everybody was saying it, thinking it, seeing it, and I was like, ugh, because think of me. What's my sphere of influence?
College kids.
Not
College.
even. I wasn't even in college technically, so it was nobody. It was, who am I gonna ask? My friend who like asked me to borrow $5 for like her coffee. Like, hey, you want to buy a house? So it was zero. Then it was like, ask your family friends. I don't have family here, so I was like, okay, no sphere here, no second level, no third level. So I was like, what can I do? And I was stuck on that for a long time. It was like, how was I supposed to get a sale? How anything? So I was like, how can I like tone it down? I don't need a sale. I don't need, a $20,000 commission. I just need something. I just need something exciting. So I decided to look into rentals. Ah, rentals. Every time I bring it up, everybody has like this disgusted either like look or this like their face just goes,
Uh,
or they just stop talking. They were laughing, it's all fine and dandy, and then they're like, oh, yeah.
that thing.
I made myself like a little system. It took me like a week where I have a bunch of these text shortcuts. I do it through Marketplace. Now I have a bunch of tenants, a bunch of everything. But before it was really starting up, I had to test like wording, how I would respond to this. I try to automate it as much as I can. I wish there was like a send all button, but you can't do that. And I did that, and all of a sudden I went from nothing, like absolutely nothing. I went from training, from going to be an agent and being another student, to clients like coming at me, texting me for apartments that weren't even mine, but that I had access to. So now I was stepping into showings. Now was working with other agents. Now I had, tenants asking me for help, thanking me for my help, like texting me, and my phone just like blows up. I'm like, oh, okay. So what was this sphere of influence? Don't need her.
Well, you're building it, right? And that's I think where
Not the personal one.
no, of
I didn't
course,
know these people.
and I think that's where it's very underrated, right? I think because commonly, right, like when you look at statistics, the the typical profile or demographic for people who become agents are typically women in their like middle ages, right?
Yes.
Either middle ages or like retired, and that's just it is what it is, right? That last time I checked, that was the statistic. So a lot of times, you're not fresh out of high school, right? So usually you have at least some line of someone you can shake down, right? And classes you teach to as many people as you can, and it just that's the market. But in your case, like you said, if you have no sphere, and I remember we had this conversation, and unfortunately, me myself, I didn't. I was like, look, you're gonna have to just dig and figure something out, right? I
Yeah.
just, right, and
And everybody said the same thing. They were like, no, like, there must be someone like, where do you live? Like, your neighbors.
mhm.
Like, at that point, I lived in Flushing. Like, I did not know who my next door neighbor was on this end, or across the hallway. You walk out, you don't know anybody, nobody knows you, nobody saw anything, heard anything. So it was really like no sphere. And I would
Yep,
repeat that over and over. I have no sphere. Say it
yep.
straight out. Everybody would be like, no, you do. No,
Well,
I don't. So I did what I could.
well, that's where again grit is impressive in you, right? Will I still argue that you probably could have found something?
Hmm.
Yeah, right. But
With the amount of work and like thought and time and preparation that I would have to put in, it would not be worth it.
right. And so, but the beauty of this is, look, it was hard to get the advice in your particular predicament, and you just decided, you know what? If I don't have an existing fear, I'm going to build one,
Yeah.
right? Essentially, that's what you did, right? And so, up to this point, I get the sense that all like the major hurdles that most people have already like burned themselves out on, you just were saying, okay, so it doesn't work. I'm going to go figure out how to get it to work, right? And that's
And but the thing is, you can never satisfy anyone. So okay, everybody was against the no sphere of influence. Then I did this, and it's proven. Like, I rented this, I rented that, I rented that. Still, nah, hate rentals.
I hate rentals.
Ah, you can't stick with rentals. You need to get into sales. Ah, getting into rentals is too annoying.
Yeah, but
There's
A,
still that pushback.
of course, but A, there's you got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah,
But B, there are agents who actually prefer rentals, right? I get it. There's more,
leasing agents.
yeah,
Yeah,
and to each their own. But I would say if it's something, if it's a process you end up enjoying, stick with it, right? But on the other side, for now, do what you gotta do, right? And now your sphere, you could start touching base of like, so how you like your rental? Do you have anyone else, right? Like the beauty of this business is if you do a good job, it's not just your clients, it's them, their family, their friends, right?
right.
And I, I'm gonna say this out. I don't know who said what, but for those who are gonna keep poo-pooing you, um, they could go kiss a derriere somewhere, right? So, and it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of them mean well. And I'm, you know what? To be fair, I probably
No,
would.
they don't. They don't mean. They just, they themselves are selling houses,
Mhm,
having that success. So for them, it just seems pointless.
of course,
And then I'm just like grabbing at it. I'm like,
mhm,
okay, more for me.
absolutely, right? And like either which way, like the way I see it is, you find ways to get it done, right? To get rather than just calling it quits, you said even if it is these grungy rental, space where everyone looks down on, like I'm gonna get my reps in, period. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna, one way or another, I am gonna build a client base. I am gonna build a book of business. I am gonna close something, right? And that speaks volumes, right? And for any agent out there thinking, you know, I get it. The listing agent is cream of the crop, right? That's the gold standard, whatever, right? But for those who are not at that level or they just don't have that yet, for you to
It's
look
just
at,
better than nothing.
right,
It's
right,
it's that first little.
something is better than nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So figure out what works for you is usually the thing. And again, I'm still in awe that because it like from what I gathered, it wasn't just one or two. It was I just keep seeing like, oh, there's another one, like another, she's at another apartment, she's at another unit, she's at another unit. I'm like, damn, like this girl's damn okay, she's really cranking, huh?
The
Right?
secret sauce is that most of them I'm not even there. That I'm upstate and I'm renting them out there.
It works.
So that was like the cherry on top. I was
Yep,
like, wait, I'm moving. Am I still gonna do this? And then it turned out,
yep,
yeah.
you are right, and that problem solving ability is what I think a lot of people will miss, right? Um, so can I assume that your views on this trajectory, this career path, if you will, is maturing quite quickly?
How so?
From in my perspective, you've already overcome a lot of hurdles, right? And it looks like you've got your like teeth kicked in early, like early, right? So Uh, and to add to it, I imagine most people like when maybe a text or call whatever, and they meet you like, wait, what? Like you're my agent? You? It's like, is your mother around? Right?
No,
Um,
I know. Whenever I go, I dress up. I'm always talking about random topics like the S&P 500, this that. So nobody usually questions me. They might be like, "Why is your voice so high?" But other than that, it's usually fine.
oh, in that case, you know what, then girl, you are killing it. I feel like you're, where most people get that like gut check, you learn quickly of like, can I do this or can I not? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I am curious to see like how you feel about that, but I mean, you've been doing work, right? And not the easy way. So, can you kind of walk me through how your opinion of this job has kind of progressed since you started?
When I started, I was like, just with the whole sphere thing, and then not getting any leads. I thought it was gonna be kind of like, you're with the office, but the busy people are too busy, so here's like a few, buyers and sellers that they don't really feel like dealing with. They'll just like send them to you, give them to you, work with you. There was none of that. So, every lead everybody grabs on. So That was a disappointment. Still a disappointment, but now I can kind of see how you can get the ball rolling, how you can work with the renters and maybe get in touch with landlords, and how every single person that you meet now, just be like, by the way, I'm an agent, and they're going to be like, by the way, I have a house. By the way, my cousin, this, that, that. So I feel like that's kind of a perk because I'm starting off young, and everyone that I'm just going to meet in my life, I'm already going to have the title. So they're already like now my friends that see that I'm an agent now are like, oh, she's an agent now. They maybe may forget. They're just like, oh, that's Kaya. But everyone that I meet on from this point is just gonna know me as like an agent to begin with, and they're already gonna have that seed planted.
I love it. I love
And like I'm gonna be my friends now that are not useless, but a little bit because they're not buying, they're not selling, they're not renting. They're gonna buy their first house. They're gonna rent their first apartment. Their friends are gonna rent. Then their parents are gonna be like, okay, it's time for you to like go do something. They're gonna move in somewhere. First boyfriends, first husbands, all of that. So I'm hoping to be a realtor till like I'm a grandma. I want to be Grandma Kaya realtor. So it's gonna pick up sometime.
it. Hey, I love that attitude, right? And that's actually the other probably benefit of jumping in early. As long as you are doing what you're supposed to do, now you get them before anyone else, honestly, right? You grow up with them. So that's actually pretty brilliant, right? And we did touch on a lot of them already, but are there any other pros and cons of being an agent that you have realized thus far?
Big con is always, not always, but
Pros and
usually
cons.
having to have your phone. It's always that like phone. It's that texting, texting, calling, calling. And then for me, this isn't a problem just because I'm a people person. I like to talk, I like to listen, I like to laugh, chat. But if you're generally introverted or if you don't really like chit chat, having to be in front of people or like chit chatting your way in the office to the other agents, to the other agents, to the people, to the buyers, to the sellers, to the phone in real life, all of that can really drain you.
That's
That
for
would
sure.
be another, yeah, all of these like networking events, parties, if that's not your thing, can be a lot.
Hmm. And I think people find, well, I mean, there are like I don't know if you know, but there are a handful of like top agents who are
Mm-hmm.
introverts, and for me, it's interesting looking at them because they still figured it out, right?
Yeah,
It's like a very interesting thing to see because most like a lot of good agents are naturally extroverted, right? They're natural, smooth talking, just
yep.
bring on the party, right? And then some of them like they're monsters, and you have a talk with them, and you notice that they're like, bro, I f- I don't like big crowds. I don't like actually don't like being out in public with
Yeah.
people. I'm like, what, dude? You did you did crazy numbers and you feel awkward talking to people. I'm like, what the hell? How does this work?
But at the same time, they do have teams and people doing it for them. People,
Well, some of them, right? There's certain tasks
yeah,
of it, but I noticed that what it is well, not all of them, but some of the introverts, it's just there's like a little switch that goes off in their brain of like, as much as I hate this particular thing, like this is what I need to do the things that I want, and they just
yeah.
I don't know, they just crank away. I'm like,
That's like the calling for people. For me, even it's like, who wants to sit there and call people?
not me.
Like, there
Well,
is anything else you could do. You could be like washing the bathroom tile. That would be better than sitting and like calling and hearing.
I, I mean I think that's often honestly what turns a lot of people off when they realize, oh wait, like I have to sit on the phone for like 3 hours and call people who probably don't want to hear my voice. Yes,
Yeah.
damn it, you know. But thankfully there are other ways to prospect. But any other pros you've realized since you became an agent?
Lists all the cons.
It's
Don't
all
join.
good.
Um, pros. Pros. I think the biggest pro would be that it opens your mind to a lot of things and it kind of like cuts out that fear factor. It like if you're thinking of doing anything on your own or entrepreneurial, if I said that right,
Hmm.
um, it definitely like gets your feet in the water because if you look at the especially if you're older, well, if you're younger too, but if you're older and you're leaving, say like a full-time adequate paying job for this, then that's really brave of you. Say you have a kid and you have a steady job and you leave it for real estate and all of a sudden, you pay the fees and you don't have money. Yeah, you don't have income, then that really like opens up your your courage, your mind. You're like, if I can do this, then I can do this. If I can do this, then I can do this. Like doing real estate, I did the license. I'm here. I'm looking at it. I'm like, like what about other things? What about like selling insurance? What about selling this? It's all commission based. It's the same thing. I'm like, I could do that too. I could do that too.
Surprised at how impressed I continue to be because, like, we'd have conversations before, right? And I'm not trying to mean this as like a backhanded compliment. Like conversations that we have, I get like, damn, she's like really like she's solid, right? And so
I
like,
think a lot.
yeah, I mean, but that's a good thing, right? Like at some point, usually there's a level of like, okay, like the the conversations become pretty standard. But I feel like every time I talk with you, it's like, damn, she just hit like another like octane, man. Like she's all right. Like I think I need to have more conversations with this kid. Like it's
You were asking me. You were like, "Do you know what we're gonna say?" I was like, "I'll just keep talking."
yeah, and honestly, sometimes that gets me a little nervous because I'm like, do I need to carry this conversation? And I'm like, wait, but with you, I'm like, no, this kid's gonna figure something out. And
Yeah.
it still exceeds expectations. So I'm like, oh, let's go, let's go.
Thank you.
Um,
It's like anything. If you can get your foot in the door, then you walk. Keep going.
says the prodigy.
But I would say if you consider doing real estate and then you start feeling nervous or you start being like, oh, like I really need to provide for my family or I really need some type of money. Like I have another job. I don't think that you should within the first year and a half, you should give up. I feel like you should try your best to get in as many hours as you can while doing another job or while doing something else and stick with it because that consistency it starts to get in towards the end when that disappointment fades away.
I think that's where a lot of people get stuck as well. I mean, there was another agent we did an interview with way back, and he mentioned something similar, right? But like when he finally got those reps in, and when the light bulb went off, it was dude's doing well, and
It's like anything, it's like being on a diet. If you can do it for a week, you could probably do it for a month.
Mhm,
Or like, quitting smoking. If you can do it for a week, you could probably do it for longer. But if you can't do it, that like first 3 day hump,
mhm,
then it's looking a little iffy.
yeah. But it's bite sizes, right? Like it's easy to get overwhelmed, especially in things like this, right? And what I found is, people figure out one thing at a time. Like I know there's a lot of things you have to master, a lot of things you have to learn, and all that. Like any other job and career, or whatever. But for some reason, we allow ourselves to kind of like take a look at everything, this mountain before us, and we're like, oh, I can't do this. This is no bueno, right? But like like you know what? There's all these things I have to do. Don't have a sphere. Don't have all this. Like they're telling me I need a sphere. I need. Let's start with one thing. What's the one thing I could do right now, right?
Yeah,
Let's go bang out some rentals, right? By banging out the rentals, you meet some people, keep digging, right? Like it's not there's more done by doing little things than there are waiting to do the big things, right? And for you, thankfully, um, because I like seeing you like hit this trajectory, right? It's as you get these steps, and there's still progression, right?
right.
Like I think that's the other side. Don't plateau, right? Like you're thinking I'm not just doing rentals because I have nowhere else to go, right? I'm doing rentals because I need to start building something, right? And you're building, and the key word building, right? So my assumption here is, by the time you're done with college, I would hope that,
Next year.
dude, you're almost there, right?
Yeah.
That by now you got enough reps into come out the gate swinging, like really swinging, right? Because you've been scrapping already, right? So,
I
you know,
mean, I'm my career is my major is finance, so it's only gonna.
oh, dude, you're gonna be dangerous. You're gonna be so dangerous. In my opinion, like there's the finance that you learn, but then a lot of people are like, well, you don't use it for anything. Well, maybe, but at least the structure should be in your brain, right? And so, talking finance, you might not be looking at financials, but you could get a general sense of like understanding how money should work,
Mhm.
right? Even if you don't know all the nitty gritty, like the conversation we had earlier, right? We were talking about certain things, and you might not know the like infinite like nitty gritty details, but you kind of get the sense of okay, like I can see how this might make sense, right? And I'm sure your curious brain, you're probably going to start digging and figure it out anyway, right? But you're more than halfway there. So the
I would
rest,
say it's just like doing little things all over the place because a lot of that disappointment when you get into real estate and it doesn't seem to work is because you're only doing the real estate. But if you focus a little on your family or friends or whatever you do, a little on real estate, a little on learning something else, a little on maybe I can get my license for this too or degree on this too, then it all starts to. It's like don't watch. What is it? The pot never boils when watched. A
oh,
washed pot never boils.
yep. Probably
So if
something like
you're only focusing on that, like I need to sell a house, I'm not selling a house. Oh no. I
yeah.
mean, it's not going
You,
to happen. But if you're doing this, 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 and then all of a sudden a lead comes in, oh, you take them out, but then you're also doing this, something happens, then it's great.
I love that attitude. Uh, like I'm starting to get like I'm starting to itch to bring you in on the team and just start like building out an investment group with you.
I can
Like
put $100 down. It'll be like
$100.
everybody pile the money.
Give me your monies. I bring the deals. Done. Done.
Yeah.
Dude, you're gonna be an assassin, dude. You're gonna be like seriously, like like and like call it blown smoke, but like assuming that the intensity and the dedication consistency is still there, you're gonna be a murderer, dude. Like you're on that path. It hurts when I see certain agents, like that I've actually personally spoken to, and they seem to be off to a good start, and then like, yeah, dude, I'm done. I'm done. Right?
Yeah.
Um, like it's this. I'm like, have you tried talking to so and so or trying this that? Like, no, I think I'm just done. And I'm like, all right, well, I mean, best of luck to you. Keep in touch, all the typical stuff. With you,
Mhm.
I'm just like, she's quiet for like, I feel like I haven't seen her in a couple. Oh, wait. There it is again. Yep, there it is. Okay, cool. Like, all right, she's grinding. Cool. Um, and so I think given that path, I mean, look, the beauty of it is you have your degree. Well, you will anyway, right? And
I
so,
have one so far.
you try to rack up like 5 degrees? What the hell?
I was thinking like three, but maybe two.
Look, do what you gotta do, right? And the beauty is,
Yeah.
there's flexibility.
It's all gonna tie in together at the end. It's just gonna be the goal is to not be broke.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah. And to have fun getting there.
I feel like that's the reason why you're not gonna be broke. Like I feel like you actually, sit there and you actually figured out how to have fun with this, you know. Whereas a lot of people are kind of they wake up in the morning they're like, shoot, I really I gotta do this again, right? Like every time I kind of have a talk with you, it's kind of like, yep, I'm into this and this and this. I'm like I'm kind of hopping around. I'm like, oh, she's having fun. I'm like, those are the people that do well, honestly, right? Those are the people that do well because they have fun doing it, right? It's fun for them. But speaking of academia,
Mhm.
how are you finding that juggle between being like I know you mentioned it earlier, but so far like that juggle between being a realtor and a college student, like how's that? Kind of walk me through how that works for you.
For me, it was absolutely no problem that I went and got another job on top of it, but it was a little annoying going to an 8 a.m. class when I was like, I'm not making money right now. I'm sitting here right now. I'm doing an assignment that has nothing to do with anything right now. But whatever. I still did it. I put well, not all of them, as much as I could. I really bossed this like lady around when she was making my schedule. I was like, make all of them online, please, so I could just bust them out whenever. I would say if you're bad at time management, or if you don't like too much stress on your plate, or if you like to sleep, it wouldn't be good. But for me, it's been okay because I don't treat school like, oh, I'm in school. Try to pretend I'm not a student, honestly. It's just another thing that needs to get done, you know? Like wash the dishes, go to class, go grocery shopping, do this assignment, next, next, next.
It's just another errand.
Yeah, you don't really make it your life. But yeah, just I was just like make the schedule as big as possible so I can do it in the fewest amount of years, pay the least amount of money, and then I'll be on. She's like, you can't handle that, blah blah blah. I was just like, just give it to me. If I can't handle it, you'll take it away. It's been silence.
Mr. or Mrs. Counselor, I believe Kai just said, hold up, hold my beer.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's totally manageable. I don't
Okay.
know what everybody's freaking out about, saying that I dropped out to do real estate.
Well, I mean, typically the people who are the highest functioning, who are actually that driven, they don't have time for nonsense, right?
Yeah.
And like that's another thing that surprises me, right? It's like I legit thought like this chick is probably sitting there like messing around on Friday night, getting drunk and whatever, because she's still young. You should still live your life. And I'm like, damn, she's still working. I'm like, she's got like old lady brain. I'm like, she's
Yeah,
like
I
taken away.
do.
For you to kind of be that ambitious and that driven is going to be something I pray it never goes away. With the exception of like, hopefully your mental health is always good and healthy. But
Yeah. Yeah. Unless my heart stops from the amount of Red Bull I drink, but other than that, we should be fine.
I mean, so I'm gonna put it out there. I'm going to formally invite you to start looking into the real estate investment space
Ooh.
and like start really digging into how that works.
Hmm.
Obviously, as long as it fits your vibe, right?
Everything is my cup of tea.
Because
Everything.
I get the sense that when you get a real taste of that, you're really gonna take off. So far, we've definitely got, are there any other things that you noticed that came naturally to you as an agent?
Talking to people, laughing with people for no reason, because nobody wants to have a serious conversation about serious things ever. Whether it's on the phone in real life, you just like walk in and laugh about everything. Um, I would say gotten better at talking to anyone about anything. Like it doesn't matter if someone's 30, 40, 60, 80, 90 and wants to talk about their favorite TV show or their favorite thing to buy at the store. I feel like that's gotten a lot easier. It's just like go with the flow.
Any things that you're like still kind of struggling with?
Yeah, I haven't been calling at all.
This one just
um, that's mostly been because I had school in the morning and all of that useless stuff. I could have, of course, called an hour here, an hour there, but now I have no excuse. It's
yeah,
just something about sitting down with that phone.
and look, it is the gold standard typically with the well for most. But again, like my argument will be figure out a system that works for you. Period.
Yeah, it'll
And
be like if you make 100 calls, you can go buy yourself a nice breakfast. If you
Mhm.
don't, starve.
I mean, look, not that there are many, right? But there are agents that strictly get their leads off of social media, but that
Mhm.
requires you to understand funnels and things like that, and whatever. But you seem to be someone who likes and does well at designing systems, right? You create a system and you implement it, and then you make sure it's efficient, right, and optimized. So I'm not terribly worried. I mean, I imagine you are probably leaving money on the table, right? But as am I. But
Yeah.
it's one of those things where I think you do what you can live with, right? And clearly, you're still getting business, right? So whatever it is that you're doing, make sure it works and double down on it and make sure you optimize to make it better. That's all. I think
I need
that's
to come up with something else, honestly. Not something else, but something in addition. Because it's just been slowing down this winter. With everything. I know with everything, but gotta get something else cracking. So there's gonna be another system soon.
hey. And when you do, let me know because we'll try to. Well, maybe we'll put you on blast. But I mean,
Hey!
senior agents, veterans, um, you have this young bull over here, and she is ready to crack. So if you have any ideas, make sure you reach out to her. And I'm kind of curious to see what she comes up with.
Hey, hey.
So now you will likely end up with at least one accountability partner additionally.
Mhm.
Wait, so is this year one for you?
The very, very end of January is going to be year one.
Okay. So year one, you're already, I mean, you're still closing on deals, right? Uh, you did say you want to be like Grandma Kaya, but do you have any other goals or any other things that you want to do long term? Like, what's your end game in this?
I feel like, no, I know what you mean. I feel like endgame would be to own a few properties myself. Of course, the passive income and to, go through a few properties, really learn the market and, ride the wave just like with stocks and to just help a lot of people out. Because honestly, like even with rentals, when you help someone out, and at the end, their like kids are hugging you, they're smiling, they're like finally. It's really a great feeling. So I hope to do that a lot in the future, and I hope to get to see some really nice houses.
I can't
Some
be
really nice houses.
I can't be mad at that at all. Um, Honestly, that there's an odd satisfaction when you like walk into a house and it's like damn this I really like what you did with this place, or
Mm-hmm.
like you start looking at little features here and there. I'm like, oh, like I think the dangerous thing about being a realtor is that as you see more and more houses, like in your head, you start thinking about all like the cool things you want in your house. I'm like, oh my God, like the house that I'm dreaming about is like $1 bajillion. This is gonna be ridiculous. I'm like asking for like a $6 million house, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
you could like see it as your own, and then you go back home and you're like, okay, all right.
yep. And I mean, but I guess it's not all a bad thing, right? Because for me, it's like, oh, that just means that I got to work harder if I want something like this. But I mean, whichever way you want to go, but I do want you to kind of swing a little bit into the investment space because
That would be amazing. It's like look, it's rentals in it.
the art rentals, right?
Yeah,
And
so I'm already weaseling into it.
ooh, be careful with your next words, kid. I'm gonna hold you to it.
Oh,
I'll hold you to it. I mean, it's an interesting space, right? It's again like the beauty of the investment space is that there's less emotion, right? It's math, right? And so like for me, there's a balance. Like I do want to help folks, which is why I got into residential. Um, but for me, there's also an itch that is only scratched by the investment space. Like there is a certain level of like, can I make the math work? First off, can I figure out and get creative and figure out how to make this value add even more, make this deal even sweeter, right? And so like it's
and can
just
I do it fast enough?
yeah, it's fun. It's I mean, just for me, even just like looking through deals gets interesting. So something to consider. Um, I know we're gonna end up if I don't cut this off, we're gonna end up talking for like 8 hours, which is gonna be
Yeah,
problematic. Uh, is there anything else that you would like to add or?
I would say it's gonna be a great 2023. It's gonna be going on to over year one, and I hope the economy gets better. I hope we all stay sane. I hope everything gets cheaper. I think more houses should be sold and bought, and we'll all be happier. And cheers to that. That's it.
Cheers.
That's my toast.
For people trying to figure out how to reach out to you, where
Mm-hmm.
can they find you?
They can find me at Kaja Deren Cells, New York, NY on Instagram. They can Google me, Kaja Deren. They can they can ask you. They can be like, Alex, who's Kaya?
Hook me up with this Kaya chick.
Yeah.
So if you found this helpful or interesting, do me a favor. It costs you $0, but make sure you follow, subscribe, like, and all that fun stuff. Uh, Contact information for Kaya Darren will be down below. And thank you for joining us. And I will catch y'all on the next one. Peace.
Do, do, do.